Hi, it's Laura, and I want to take a moment to thank you personally and on behalf of my team for your support in this time. Your curiosity, commitment to truth, and solidarity mean the world to us. As we approach the end of the year, we need you more than ever. We are determined to mount a media resistance to marginalization, silencing, and political violence. We intend to continue to amplify the voices of changemakers and push bold ideas to the forefront. We'll do our part, but we can't do it alone. Our year-end fundraising drive kicks off on Giving Tuesday, December 3rd. Will you stand with us, join with us, and help us build the media resistance we need more than ever right now? Every contribution helps, and you all help keep this content free for everybody. Do your part. Visit lauraflanders.org/donate to contribute today. And thank you. Now on with this week's show.
The following episode originally aired July 7th, 2024.
I lost my agents. I lost my publicist because of my outward support of the ending of apartheid in Palestine. People may not realize, but you are definitely expected to just take whatever gossip is said about you because you've made this somehow unspoken exchange that you having monetary gain and visibility means that you have to allow harm. And what I've decided is I am divesting from celebrity.
Listen or watch Ms. Amanda Seales, and you are likely, as she's put it, to laugh and also to learn. Seales, you may know from her role on HBO's hit series Insecure, or possibly from her stand-up comedy, or as a musician, an author, a host of the classic 2020 BET Awards, or perhaps you've caught her weekly podcast, her daily radio show, or her viral videos on social media. Seales' resume is long, but a running thread throughout all of it is a commitment to social justice. She calls herself an artistic intellectual, and true enough, from her early days in spoken word and doing a benefit for Jesse Jackson to her commentaries on everything from Kamala Harris and Gaza to IVF, Seales weaves scholarship from her master's degree in African American studies from Columbia University throughout her work in the entertainment industry. And she talks powerfully about her own experiences with neurodivergence, white supremacy, and a whole lot more in the process. How does she do it? What price does she pay for it? What's it take to be politically outspoken in Hollywood? And what is her advice for the rest of us? Let's find out. Amanda Seales, I am so glad to have you with me here on Laura Flanders and Friends. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be one of the friends.
You call yourself an artistic intellectual, and I love that phrase. And I wonder what you mean by it or how you would define it for people.
It's really someone who is an edutainer. I mean, at the end of the day, I've come through a system that I've been in since I was 8 in the entertainment business. And I've seen, what it means to make it in this business. And oftentimes it simply just can't be done without giving up bits of your integrity. It's oftentimes not allowing for you to have both the career and the ability to speak honestly to things that are harming others. We see that right now with what's going on with Palestine. And the other part of being a quote unquote celebrity is that you're expected to just take whatever is given. You're always in the, which I know people may not realize, but you are definitely expected to just take whatever gossip is said about you, whatever. You have to take it all on the chin because you've made this somehow unspoken exchange that you having monetary gain and visibility means that you have to allow harm. And what I've decided is I am divesting from celebrity. Like, y'all can have that. I don't want fame. I would love reverence for my work.
Now, your curiosity was clearly cultivated by a lot of great educators. I knew one of them. It was my honor to know Manning Marable a little.
Yeah, yes.
That must have been quite something, going to Columbia with him. Talk about it. What did he give you? What did you learn from him? How'd you get there?
I always remember the first day of class with Professor Marable when he came in with his Frederick Douglass hairdo and he just like came in a tizzy and he slammed his books down at the end of the conference table. And he said, "Do you all want hip hop to die?" We were all like, "Oh, that was unexpected." Okay. One thing that Professor Marable really contextualized for all of us, but, I can speak for myself specifically, is that learning about the past has really no value if you're not going to apply it for a better future. And specifically within our classrooms, within the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia, that was what was the directive. Let's make sure that we are considering ourselves responsible and obligated to be the harbingers of a better future. And I'm working on a one-woman show that I'm planning to produce as a live stream on November 2nd, and it's called What Would the Ancestors Say? And it is directly connected to that concept and understanding that we can't just keep talking about the past and romanticizing it. We have to be the future because we're somebody else's past.
I was thinking about that actually today as we're speaking. The news broke this morning, or maybe last night, that Reverend James Lawson had died, one of the civil rights era greats. And when I was reading his obituary, I was reading it, up against the stories of what else is happening in the world today. And one of the things that's happening is the arrest of, I think, 20 students at UCLA for holding a funeral procession for at last count, 37,000 Palestinians killed. And I thought, today we're honoring James Lawson, but when you look at his bio, it includes getting expelled from Vanderbilt for protest, getting imprisoned for refusing to fight in a war. The very protesters we see today could be those ancestors we honor tomorrow. And I'm wondering how you make sense of that as somebody who speaks out, who, doesn't take a lot of, stands up for herself, put it that way.
I think what we really are seeing is just this cyclical practice of ignorance, and it's willful and hypocritical. And when we praise people who have done the same thing that we are now harming and, defaming people for, degrading people for.
Not letting them graduate,
and they, on a basic capitalist level, they pay that money, okay? It really makes you question, what is the standard for people? What is the value for people? What is their value system? And if we just put it in an American context, what is really the value system of this country? And a lot of people love to hold that flag and say, I'm an American, I'm a proud American. What does that really mean if we are constantly moving the goalpost, even when we have acknowledged these people and lauded these people for doing the same thing that we are degrading these people for, simply because in this instance, we've been told that there is a criminality to supporting Palestinians. And you ask yourself, are the people who are even making that determination morally sound to do that? No, they're not. So I think the beautiful thing, though, is that we have something positive out of social media in that these people will still get love and they will still get supported. Like, I was able to host this people's graduation that was done at Columbia. And this was done as a whole separate, it's not an official commencement, but it's a ceremony that honored, the students who were involved in the encampment and the administrators and the faculty who supported. And it was a really, really just beautiful ceremony. And I just felt like it was so necessary because it really just on a basic note said, they may not recognize you, but we do.
So looking at your career and the way that you have tried to bring your knowledge, your curiosity, your thoughts and opinions to the public, I'm just struck by how much effort's had to go into it. This has not been an easy ride for you. You don't give up. I appreciate that. Those of us who are in independent media appreciate what it takes to be agile and dogged, and some would just say stubborn.
Right.
I wonder if you have reflections today for young people coming up who are thinking, well, I just, the world is my oyster. We have the internet. I can get all these likes. I can be an influencer. Not so easy, I think.
I mean, I think the real reality is if you are tethering your idea of success to outside validation, there's always going to be a wall that you hit. And that's just the reality of maturing and of existing, particularly as an artist, because when you are creating something that is so personal and you are putting it out into the world, there is going to be that exchange, right? There is that exchange of, well, people do need to consume this and enjoy it. It needs to take a point. It needs to play a role in their life of validity for this to continue. However, for so many people, what they consume is based on authenticity and how it connects to them in an authentic way. And it just is it is a limited pool to pull from when your authenticity is based on other people and not your own. And so I always continue.
So talk more about that.
I'm going to. So I always encourage young people to really make it their main focus of understanding their own process, of understanding their own internal self, their own way of working. And that is why it's so dope that therapy has become less of a stigma, because I really believe that therapy allows you to become clear on the blueprint of you. And there's myriads of ways to do therapy, right? But when you become able to really understand the inner workings of you, it also makes it capable for you to create boundaries that protect you much earlier. I mean, I think about the stuff that I know now, and had I started implementing that earlier in my life, my mental health would have been so much more sturdy had I been able to have the confidence to put down boundaries that were reasonable, but that also allowed me to have self-protectiveness that didn't keep me from things that could help me, but just kept me from things that could harm me.
Sometimes I think it's really hard, especially for women, young girls coming up in a female body, to have a sense of your own self, because you're so often a person on display, and then be a Black girl, and there's a whole lot of other things you got to be careful about.
1,000%. I mean, this is why representation is so important. This is why community is so important. It is imperative that you surround yourself with people who believe in you more than you believe in you, because there are so many aspects of our world that are constantly just trying to tear other people down for no even real reason, oftentimes, and sometimes it's inadvertent and sometimes it's direct. But I think of my own self, like I just went through a very public excoriation where there was just a lot of hubbub around Amanda Seales is unlikable. And I just think about how that would have really taken me out like 10 years ago in such a real way, because I was so connected to outward validation that I wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. I mean, that could have led to really, really tragic circumstances. And I feel so lucky that I've had not just the support of my friends, but also the support of my community of people who really appreciate my work. And also that I have the tools from my therapy that allowed me to be able to push through that and understand what's real versus what is just being created for means and methods that I don't even know.
This is Laura Flanders and Friends. Laura's guest today is Amanda Seales, an artistic intellectual with a commitment to social justice that threads throughout her work as an actor, comedian, and podcaster, perhaps best known for her role on HBO's hit series Insecure. Next, Seales pays homage to the teachers from her formative years who helped her along the way. Be sure to subscribe to our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts to hear the entire uncut conversation where Seales shares more on her own experiences with neurodivergence, how she's approaching the elections, and more. Don't forget, you can watch this episode on our YouTube channel and on PBS TV stations across the country. All the details are at lauraflanders.org. And while you're there, please take a moment to subscribe to our newsletter. The discussion continues, but first here's Hope by Shaun Escoffery from his forthcoming expanded digital album release of In the Red Room, coming out on Dome Records.
Static flying through the airwaves, inundated by the words of fear, wishing they would disappear. I know we all bleed the same blood, and everybody just wants to be loved, just wanna be loved. Oh yeah. How can man be so cold? I don't know. Where's the light? Where's the soul? Still in my heart, I got a handful.
I do want to give you a chance to shout out some of the people that have helped you along the way. We mentioned Manning Marable.
Yes.
But there are a lot of teachers that preceded Dr.
Yes.
Marable. And I think that we sometimes jump over those early teachers that made a difference, including a gymnastics coach.
Well, I have to start with my kindergarten teacher, Miss Souza, who literally is the
Shout
one
out
who
to Miss Souza.
Shout out to Miss Souza at Lassen Elementary School, because she was the one who said she should be tested for gifted. And another teacher might have said she's a problem child. She's talking too much. She's a Black child. So, you know, that already is going to put you in a stigmatized position. And another
Black
teacher
girl.
may have put a Black girl. We are criminalized in increasingly voracious numbers. And I just feel so fortunate that she saw
Yeah.
this as something positive and not something that needed to be suppressed. My first grade teacher, who I'm still in touch with, Miss Channel, she has told me before that, you know, she saw, along with my second grade teacher, Ms. La Bowman, that I needed to be protected. She saw my brilliance, she saw my leadership skills, and that was something that they needed to make sure was not mishandled. So I feel like these are people that so early on in my development, my mom is at work, I'm with them, and they're seeing, you know, as educators, their personal responsibility towards me. I'm so, like, when people talk about privilege, that to me is my greatest privilege, that I had educators that cared and that made it their business to care. You know, when I think about like Karen Ruggiero at Dr. Phillips High School, you know, she just really broke the mold in terms of casting. We're in Florida. We're in Central Florida in the 90s. Racism is rampant. And she was so conscious about making sure that everyone was considered in how she casted and how she reimagined roles. I mean, my first play at Dr. Phillips High School's Visual Performing Arts Magnet was as Ariel in Shakespeare's A Tempest, but she had broken up Ariel into 4 elements. So now you had 4 more roles for these incredibly talented students. So, I mean, I get really excited when I talk about educators and the educators that I had the, you know, lucky and blessed experience to be served, because it really has made the difference in my life. I mean, it's, and the educators in America are just simply not given their just due. They're not given the resources that they deserve. They're not given the salaries that they deserve. And when I hear politicians say things like, well, you know, you don't really need training to be a teacher. I mean,
Funny how they don't say that about jobs that men are concentrated in. Right.
Funny how politicians don't need training, and they're the ones who are literally determining how this nation functions. Unbelievable.
Well, that goes to the things you've been speaking out about recently, whether it is police killings, Gaza, the Democrats. I mean, where do you want to start? Where do you think we are seeing change? Well, here on the show, we try to find progress where we can. Where do you see that we perhaps are making some movement in the positive direction?
With the people. I think that's the most positive direction that we're moving in, is that people are waking up.
Yeah.
People are learning. People, you know, are defying what has been a concerted effort for the past at least 20 years to make intellect and to make knowledge just simply not valuable, not cool. And people are making it their business to say, no, let me ask questions, you know, let me learn how to research, not just say I do my research. People are also awakening their empathy. And we have also seen a massive global effort at trying to sever that between people of nations, right? That's the goal of imperialism, is that everybody thinks for themselves only. And you kill empathy. You create a narcissist culture that seeks to only protect itself and not the community. So when we see people starting to understand community on another level, when we see people starting to awaken their empathy and say, you know, even though this doesn't affect me, it still sucks. I still feel like it's my responsibility to, at the very least, talk about it. That may seem like a small step forward, but I feel like in the greater scheme of the efforts that the powers that be have been, it has the power to change the axis of evil, so to speak.
I was once lucky enough to be invited to go and see Anna DeVere teach her class at NYU.
Oh.
And she has this line about acting being an exercise of your empathy muscle, which I just thought was genius. And I wondered if you agreed and what you might have learned from any of your roles.
Well, fun fact, the monologue that I used to audition for colleges and to become an NFAA art scholar was the monologue Identity, which is in her piece Fires in the Mirror, where she has the conversation with Ntozake Shange. Identity, it's a psychic sense of life. It's a psychic sense of place. It's a way of knowing I'm not the rock of that tree, I'm this thing over here. But long story short, I think acting in the best way forces you to listen. I'm a good interviewer because I'm a good actor. I'm a good interviewer because I was really, taught that I needed to listen to respond, not wait to respond. Yes, I know the next line, but if I'm going to do this line properly, it's going to be a response to the line that's being told to me, or it's going to be response to the sound I hear or to the action that's happening. It's not going to be simply because it's time to say the line. So you have to be locked in. And in order for you to be locked in, you have to be empathetic to not just the character you're playing, but the others on the stage, because you have to be able to feel them. And that's what empathy is, feeling other people. And sometimes I know that I understand why people are so afraid of empathy, because they're afraid of their own feelings. And that's why mindfulness is so important. And what acting does teach you is a certain level of mindfulness. Unfortunately, a lot of actors become better at being mindfulness about their character than themselves. Mindful about but that's a whole other show, Laura Flanders. Which is why I always tell people, like, do not credit me as an actor. If you're going to credit me as anything other than an artistic intellectual, say comedian, because we are a different kind of crazy. But I really believe that empathy is at the core of everything.
Well, it isn't at the core of our politics right now. I like to shout out as often as I can Vassar Professor Luke Harris, partner of Kim Crenshaw, who talks about a diminution in overrepresentation. Like, white people panic when there's a slight lessening in how overrepresented they are.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're seeing when we see those allegations of reverse discrimination, which is language that's been pushed for decades by the right now through their determined and dedicated and well-funded media. So it's no surprise it's now coming at us from all corners.
You just can't talk about politics either without talking about lobbyists.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that I know a lot of just regular old Americans, myself included, just never really knew about. I mean, it felt very inside baseball. When you talk about lobbyists, and you're not just talking about AIPAC, you're talking about the NRA, you're talking about insurance companies, you're talking about big pharma, you're talking about, oil. That is an incredibly important aspect of the way our government functions that simply does not get spoken about, and they are not elected.
Well, it is interesting what things get complicated. I mean, AIPAC, just remind people, the American Israel PAC, basically, political lobby. The things that are made complicated in our national media, I think it's kind of like the Israel-Palestine situation. Oh, it's super complicated. Yes. Or civil rights law, it's super complicated. Or history, it's super complicated. Or not to mention painful for poor, sensitive white kids.
Oh, yes.
Gosh, I don't even know where to go with that, except for let's just note it. That certain things that are really important, we're told, are super complicated, which I think is just a way of telling most people not to pay attention.
That's it. It just encourages people to not worry about it. Just make sure you get your bills paid. Don't worry about this over here. It's not, we got people who actually handle this. And the irony about that is that at the same token, we ignore the actual experts. Yeah. So you present this idea to the American people that this is very complicated, so it's not for you to handle. And then those same people, media and government included, will ignore experts.
And when I think of experts, I think of people who are actually on the front line of something. So front line of climate change, front line of white supremacy, front line of colonialism. They might know a thing or two about how to survive any one of those things.
You better say it, Laura Flanders.
So, all right, coming back to you for a second, because you try to say a lot. You do say, I want to expunge that word try. You say a lot in the various media that you have, on the platforms that you have, in the venues that you've had, whether it's comedy or HBO or you name it. Have you paid a price? And how do you navigate that?
I've paid a price. I think, though, I navigate it by perspective. And I'm really... Let me just say, I'm proud of myself because my perspective is representational of my wisdom. And that wisdom has come from having to face myself head on. And that's something that I know a lot of people are afraid to do. And I had to get the courage to do that, to really face myself head on and look at the toxicities that I'm carrying through and really reshape myself in my own vision, not just the vision that I was shaped in by nature of just being in this world and trying to make it through.
Right.
And so I lost my agents. I lost my publicist. And I, have definitely had speaking engagements and different gigs retracted because of my support of Palestine and my outward support of the ending of apartheid in Palestine. And I got to tell you, I take it as a badge of honor. I do. It's good trouble. Rest in peace to John Lewis.
Thank you so much, Ms. Amanda Seales.
Thank
it's been
you.
a pleasure having you with us, and I look forward to more, and good luck in all of your endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Enjoyed that conversation with Amanda Seales? Well, I clearly did. And the good news is there's much more of it. If you want to hear what Amanda has to say about ADD and why she thinks she has it, what superpowers she thinks that gives her, and what she thinks Joe Biden's chances are in the general election this fall, you can through subscribing to our free podcast. That's right. Often great stuff that doesn't fit. This time with Amanda Seales, she talks about Hollywood a little bit more, about what she calls that main character obsession we all have, and a bit about her upcoming one-woman show. You can get all of that through a subscription to our podcast. You'll get the uncuts every week and stay in touch with us through our newsletter. Thank you for joining me and all of us here at Laura Flanders and Friends. Till the next time.
For more information on this episode, check out our show notes posted for free at patreon.com/Laura Flanders and Friends. And we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the premiere of each week's show and chat in real time with Laura. The premiere now airs on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to our member supporters, this show remains free to millions on public TV, community radio, and as a podcast. Not a member yet? Make a one-time donation or make it monthly at lauraflanders.org. Thanks for joining us.
This show is produced by yours truly, Laura Flanders, along with Sabrina Artel, Jeremiah Cothran, Veronica Delgado, Erica Harley, Jeanette Hernandez, Jeannie Hopper, Sarah Miller, Nat Needham, David Neumann, and Rory O'Connor. Stay kind, stay curious. Until the next time, for the Laura Flanders Show, I'm Laura.